Hello and welcome back to the ministry. This is Taj McCameron. The Lord gave me this short, quick little word. It was a series of happenings I've been seeing happen over and over again. And when I see something happen over and over again, I start to pay close attention. So it's about 3 forms of attack that the enemy was doing to me. And it was one, to get me to mentally come into agreement with something that was not my natural mental thought process. I remember I was listening, thank God for Stephanie P. She did a video 6 months to a year ago. And in that video, she talked about the fact that what the enemy will do to you sometimes is he will project a series of thoughts that have nothing to do with anything that you naturally would think. But he projects it in your own voice to make you think that is your thought. You understand what I'm saying? So, perfect example. Having a thought negative towards an individual, hurt, harm, attack, never in my mind, never in my thought processes. I pray for people too often. I am a very positive person. You know the enemy's trying to get in your head when it's something negative, hurtful, harmful, anything like that. God's not going to do that to you. But the enemy will surely do that to you. That's number one. Number two is a mimic spirit. I call it a mimic spirit because it wants you to start to look like, act like, or to copy somebody else. How do you recognize this? The people that you're listening to. Now, I'm going to give you a caveat in this, but let me give you the part that I need to tell you first. The mimic is going to get you to try to start paying extreme close attention to an individual all the way down to everything about them. But the mimic is going to make you start to repeat little teeny tiny things that are similar to things that they do, whether it's mannerisms, whether it's catchphrases, whether it's whatever it is. Because you ain't paying attention to that. You ain't even thinking about that. But because you're ingesting content from an individual, you may start to do that. Think about it like this. Have you ever hung around somebody and started acting like them? The longer you were around them, you started acting like them. You understand what I'm saying? Now, the mimic spirit will do, it'll start to get you to act like them, but in picking up every negative element of them. Because it wants you to look like, act like, and or do something like the other individual. And pay attention. I'm hearing the sirens outside. Anytime you hear a siren, it means pay attention. And the Lord gave me this. Let me insert this here since we're talking about pay attention. I wrote down the other day in a note what you pay attention to. You will pay for what you are attentive of, okay? You are either going to positively pay, meaning it's going to be an aspect that is a blessing, an aspect that is going to give you wisdom, an aspect that is going to further give you what's the word that I'm looking for, Lord? Mentorship, accountability is going to be a positive influence on you, okay? But to the contrary, like this mimicking spirit, what you pay attention to is going to cost you in the long run, because it's going to cause you negative result, negative reaction, negativity. See, people do not like, there's one thing to be corrected, it's another thing to be condemned. A lot of people with a spirit of rejection will deal with having issues with correction, which is known as conviction. But there's another spirit that attempts to condemn you by projecting upon you, much like the mimic, something ain't got nothing to do with you, your personality, anything in relation to you. It's a mimic. And if you're not paying attention, you will flow right into it. If you're paying attention to a person, everything about them is positive, but one element of them is negative, mimic spirit will try to get you to mimic the negativity. You understand what I'm saying? They're bad behaviors. It's much like a child. And understand, if you pay attention to half of the demonic entities and spirits that act out, all of them are childish. Every single one of them spirits are childish. Have you not noticed that? I'm going to give you a perfect example. Pay close attention to this. This is something that happened yesterday. It's a particular spirit that I always pray against. Every single time I pray against this spirit, the person that I live with is, what's the word? Overtaken by it. Is the best way I can say. When I pray against it, that person is overtaken by it. What does that spirit make this individual do? I'm going to tell you exactly what it makes him do. It makes him act childish. Okay? Childish? What do you mean? Yesterday, I witnessed a grown man, 81 years old, who under normal circumstances would not do what he did yesterday. And watch what he did. Pay attention to this. He'd been out. He'd had something to drink. He came in. He stumbled around. He got his food together. Came, sat down. I watched this grown man that is 81 years old under normal circumstances would not do this. Eat his food in such a way that you would have thought a 3-year-old was eating it, because he had more on his shirt and on the chair, on everything else. And then I'm trying to tell him, let me help you. You might want to get that off of you, blah, 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 blah. No, I got it. No. It will fight you. Okay? Next. I knew he wasn't acting in his right mind because of the fact of this. This is how I knew a spirit had taken over him. He said something to me like this. He needed to pick me up at a particular point in time, right? He came, he got me. This is how I realized he was under the influence of the spirit. Then he says to me, while I'm getting his food together, I need to go pick up this person. The person was me. I was already standing there. You see what I'm saying? Next, I waited until he finished eating. But when he finished eating, he got up and dumped all the food on the floor. That was all over his clothes. I started sweeping up the floor. He goes and comes back and says, like a child, "Oh, did I do that? I didn't know I did that." Just like that. I didn't know I did that. I made a mess. Now, let me come back to you with another individual. The same individual. It's the same individual. Today. Perfectly fine. Not under the influence of anything else. Nothing. Had a perfectly good conversation. He went and made the exact same meal that he made yesterday. Did not spill anything on his shirt. At the utmost, it was a crumb here or there. And he was conscious enough to pick it up and do exactly what he needed to do with it. Got up, picked up all of any little debris that was left, which was very little. Took his plate, put it where it's supposed to be. You see what I mean? These spirits act childish. The catch is, whenever you run into a specific type of spirit, coming into recognition of it. You even have to recognize spirits when they're attempting to come on you. I've always told you this, and I'm going to keep repeating it. When a spirit is trying to come over you, you can either choose to agree with it or not agree with it. It's like, you ever feel that feeling of the nostalgic childhood when you come home for a home cooked meal, feeling like somebody has wrapped you in a blanket of love and care? That's the way these spirits will come on an individual. It will just come over you and sit. But the reaction that you get from it is always going to be different depending what spirit it is that comes over you. Now, if you recognize that spirit, here's an easy one. If the spirit of anger comes over you, you know when the spirit of anger comes over you, don't you? Because one minute you calm and the next minute you angry. And you feel it bubble up in you. You understand what I'm saying? That's the same way this mimicking spirit. That's the same way the spirit that I was just talking about you did. You understand what I'm saying? Be alert. Be aware of these kinds of things. Because somebody may need this. Some of you are called to be influential people. And you got to check your mind. I was literally just listening to my coach. She was talking about mindset. Not everything is a therapy issue, okay? Yes, therapy is helpful because it helps you understand your trigger points. But a therapist is going to do it analytically, by the book wise type thing. If you don't have a spiritual understanding of where these things come from, you will not understand what it is that you're dealing with. So talking to a therapist about it, unless it's a Christian counselor, this is why I have a Christian coach. She understands warfare. She understands what that is. She deals with it. I'm going to tell you the experience that I had with a therapist. When I started to follow a therapist, I went to a therapist. I was in therapy with this individual for, I think she was about 6 months or so. I don't remember. Because the company that she was under, they used to switch my therapist out frequently. I think I had 5 therapists the entire time I was there and was only there if I was there a year. That's how frequently they were switching these people out. I wouldn't have them longer than about 6 weeks, if that long. And it's funny, the first therapist I had almost resembled the last therapist I had for this particular people. But this particular time, I had started to follow God, and I was talking about these kinds of things. And the more I brought God in, this is why you must be careful about, pay attention. And I even just heard a knocking, pay attention. That when it comes down to it, if you associate it with a person that does not have your similar belief system, you talking to them will make you feel crazy. Because see, what will happen if it doesn't start off with them being contentious with you, if they religiously are not in the same belief system, they will literally start to contend with you at a specific point in your therapy, because they are, I remember the conversation I had with that particular therapist. She was talking about, oh, well, there are 66 things of this, that, and the other in relation to the biblical stuff and standards. For instance, women should only wear long skirts. And we ended up in this discussion that ain't had nothing to do with nothing. And I was going to be like, it wasn't long after that I severed my ties with this individual because of the fact that she was kind of starting to bring religiosity into what it was that we were having conversation about. So I would be talking about biblical things or how my life had changed biblically, and she started bringing in religion and religious beliefs. And I actually even started seeing her wearing the African unk and all this kind of stuff and all these other kind of beliefs. You see what I'm saying? See, you know why they created, there are so many other different forms of religion? Because somebody saw the Bible, and for every person that saw the Bible, read it cover to cover, made the decision, this is my religious belief, so I'm going to make my religious belief, it's going to have this, and this. Yes, it's going to be based out of this book, but I didn't like this part of the book, so I'm going to change that. And every other religion did that. Even if you go back and you look at the Jewish religion and the Torah and all that kind of stuff, they only pay attention to 5 books of the Bible, not the whole book. Okay? You look at all of these kind of, and some people would be like, well, why? I remember one time I brought up, in this is a side point, I don't know why I'm bringing this up, so maybe somebody need it, but I was in church and I just was inquiring because I wasn't new to Christ. I was new to learning from a teacher about it. And in learning from the teacher that was teaching the Bible study, I asked, well, if the Torah is only 5 books of the Bible, what was wrong with that? And the teacher never responded to me. It's like they were trying to avoid, and all I was asking for is a simple yes, no, a simple or like a one sentence answer. I wasn't looking for no thorough, well, the reason why the Torah is blah, blah, blah. But they ignored the question. So what I find is I'm an inquisitive person, and some people have a tendency that they don't like to answer questions. Okay? So, and you got to also watch that spirit too, because it's an avoidance. Now, me, if I don't know, I'm gonna look it up. If I don't understand, I'm gonna tell you I don't know. Sometimes, and I know that you've seen record wise of the broadcasts that I've done. If you paid attention long enough, you'll find that sometimes I say, this is a number that I'm hearing, and I don't know why I'm hearing it, but maybe this is right, maybe this is wrong. I don't know. But what I come to find out later on, I'll look back at the video. I know I said the wrong number. I know I said the wrong sequence. But the person that watched the video said, "Oh my God, that was the number that I was." I was like, "Oh, I guess that was a God thing then." So just be cautious, especially those that are teachers, leaders. You deal with these types of things. The spirit of PRIDE is a beast. And there's a level of it that makes you a victim. And there's a level of it that makes you vicious. Pay attention, because that mimicking spirit partners with that. It tries to get you to come into agreement with that, because it tries to come in subtly. And the next thing you know, you coming into agreement with that. PRIDE. So I hope this blessed you. I don't really know what the Lord was trying to say with this, but I wanted to share this. It was just something that came to me that I felt needed to be addressed. So I'll see y'all when I see you in the next one. Bye-bye.